What's up, Live Reality Games Facebook? We're so happy to be back with our Sequester Access Season 4, Episode 4 coverage from 2 nights ago. But we're back, as always. I'm Pat, joined, as I always do every week, with Luke and Hannah Fleming. H. Flem, how y'all doing tonight?
Doing good. Doing good.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this explosive episode from Sunday.
Oof. We got a lot to dig into.
So, at the beginning, how we play the spotlight music that is by Will from America?
Yes, I think we get it.
Shout out to Will from America. This song, I love this song, the Spotlight song. Well, I played a game that is called Spotlight last night, and guess who showed up in this little mini game I played last night?
Who was it?
Jay West. So I open up this game. I have no idea what I'm about to play on Zoom, and Jay West is there, and he sees me. He goes, H. Flem. I'm like, oh no.
I love it.
That's all the crap we've given him on this podcast or this stream. Hearing I'm going to play this game with Jay West. But I have to tell you guys, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how far he got? Did he make? Is there a merge in this?
Well, I mean, I got Final 5, so
that's not me, but
yeah. But Jay West, he got out in a twist that was pretty crazy, where the person had to choose between eliminating him. I'm pretty sure eliminating me or Jay West, and they picked to eliminate Jay West. So
that's fair. He can be a firecracker.
Yeah, but he did really good. So I just wanted to take a moment and say, I got to see Jay West's strategy firsthand.
Yeah.
He is not always the first boot. He's not first with energy. He did really good. So I just wanted to say that before we moved on.
I mean, we might be talking about him more on our next podcast. You never know.
I know.
Yes.
I hope so.
Yes, as we saw at the end, but we'll get there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this episode has kind of blown up Twitter. I will open up my phone and just kind of
Yeah.
I want to learn. I want to be, I want to be open. I want to see what everybody's thinking, see all the sides and everything. But, I just watched the episode for a second time, about an hour ago. I just finished an hour ago, just to kind of, get another fresh take of the episode. And it was really good. And, I loved the tweets before the episode, from TR, from Joe the Show, saying this is an episode we've been looking forward to ever since filming ended. So it's kind of all right, what's about to happen in this episode? And those battle match picks were was crazy drama. So of course you're looking forward to it, it showed some not so fun, pretty things with those battle match, but the episode in itself, I found the battle match, the challenge was very entertaining. So I'm excited to talk about this episode.
Yeah, regardless of where you land on the controversial aspects of this episode, I think we can all agree that seeing Muna, Shireen, and Rachel going out back to back to back was freaking heartbreaking. Literally just, 2 episodes ago, I was like, oh my gosh, these 3 are running the game. There's Billy is with them. Those 4 strong women are dominating. I was loving it. And I mean, I think ultimately their downfall maybe comes from it was a little too obvious how close some of them were. But regardless, it was super sad for me to see them go out. I found them all extremely entertaining to watch.
Yeah, and they got kind of caught in the middle of, like you said, being their alliance, as it's always being able to be. I stuttered through that sentence. Let's redo that. Their alliance being, that's the first time I stuttered on this podcast. Wow, we're really here. But them 3 being so out in the open, but also them playing very similar games. So they were trying to take a vote and put it on someone else, which we saw Hunter Ince do last season and other people do in previous seasons. And they each tried to do this, but at the wrong time when the house was blowing this up. So they were too obvious and they were playing the same type of game, which is very unfortunate. And we as a podcast or we as a stream, I feel like I didn't dislike Shireen coming into this season, but I'm really upset to see her go. I was really starting to like her, which we were talking about last week too. So hopefully she can make it back.
Every time I saw those earrings tonight, I just kept thinking of them on a sandwich all the way back to episode 1. I was like, oh my gosh, getting sandwich flashback.
The thread throughout the whole season.
Yeah, that's a theme.
Like I would have guessed, like, what is the average number of times the word pussy is going to be said per episode of Sequester? I would have said less than one. For sure, less than once per episode. And I would have been wrong.
I think we're at 1.5 because it was said this episode.
It's crazy. I heard at least 2 in this episode.
Yes.
And plus, like, Shireen's earrings is like, does that count like for 2 more? Like, I
We'll
don't know.
take it. We'll take it for the prop bet.
But I mean, we were talking about Muna again, and you know how she got voted out last week, and we kind of opened with that this week. I was curious for your guys' takes after we saw a Brendan confessional and a Shireen confessional. So we saw Brendan saying, really tossing Spencer under that bus, like, wow, like what a weak pick. Like Spencer is like, you know, huffing and puffing, and then he's gonna pick Muna after Jacob just betrayed him to his face. And then we get Shireen saying Muna was the top dog, so it's really going to change my plans now that she's out. So I feel like, weirdly, Shireen was actually saying that Spencer made a good move, and Brendan was saying he made a bad move. I was curious if your guys' opinions changed on last week's results based on what we heard in these confessionals.
Well, I will say real quick that, you know, I've kind of been complaining that the scenes from last week that they keep on putting in the beginning of the episodes, I felt like they have been so long.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I saw last episode. I saw last episode twice. I don't need to see all this again. But they cut it down this week in a really good chunk with confessionals that really stood out that I was paying attention to. In past episodes, you know, you got the new confessionals, but I wasn't even like really paying attention. This time I was glued in on Brendan's confessional, calling out that Spencer made the weak move to not take out Jacob, who backstabbed him, and go for Muna. Like, I loved Brendan saying that. I said last week that, you know, it was a good move for Spencer to take out someone who is, like you said, I don't want to be in someone's coronation, take out the Queen Muna. Like, that is a good move for him. I didn't like it, but I love how Brendan was calling him out. I loved it.
I find it interesting too, because for a show that's so strategy and social based, it comes down to a challenge at the end, but the challenge is very graciously like gender neutral and doesn't really give, I shouldn't say gender neutral, more so like it's like skill neutral almost. Like you don't have to be this big beefy person regardless of gender to win a challenge. But it's so interesting that so much goes into that challenge, like we see this week too, which we'll get to obviously. 2 people being dragged by 2 pretty fit dudes, and not that Shireen and Rachel aren't fit, but just that maybe like conventionally wouldn't be the best at what a normal challenge would be. So it's weird that we see the emphasis put on the challenge, but then also the emphasis put on their gameplay. It's just like this weird like cycle. And then like when they go into the challenge and it's like them digging through a sandbox, I was like, okay, so it's fair, but like interesting that that's where we're putting the emphasis on. So in one respect, Brendan's right. She is making a bitch move, I guess he would say.
That's what Brendan said, I think, actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't want to say the P word, but I'm pretty sure he said one of the 2 words.
I think it was B.
It was B. But that's why I'm like, like, if you think about it, Muna is the queen coming into this. Like, yes, she didn't win twice, but she's won. And is it, or yeah, no, yes, no, yes. So I know I had to go back in my Rolodex, but that's the thing. Like, Muna is not a bitch move. Muna was running the game, as we just said before. So it's like a mixture of like, do you want to get out of Challenge Beast or do you want to get out the queen? You gotta make a choice.
Here's how I think about it, because we're hearing, I think there's 2 different arguments for who you should pick. One of them is you have to pick the person that has shown that they've gone after you, even if they've been honest with you. Like we saw Shireen in this episode, or we saw a flashback to last week where Shireen was telling Spencer straight up, like, hey, I'm voting for this round. So there's almost a temptation. I would probably pick the person that like told me that they're voting for me and like has gone for me before. But it seems like some people want to pick the person they feel the most betrayed by, which in my opinion is an emotional move. That's like, the person that betrayed me the most still might be willing to work with me. Whereas I feel like Muna had shown that she was going against Spencer in multiple rounds, whereas Jacob kind of just betrayed Spencer in 1 round. So that's how I was thinking about it personally. And then, so sadly, we see Spencer go to Luxury Row and not get anything.
Sadly?
Darn.
Rats.
I love the Captain America music played before he went in there. And I was like, to use a phrase that Billy uses, this man This man got the Captain America music and was about to get in a prize. I was like, do not let him get something for taking out Muna. And I was pretty happy.
He didn't deserve it. He didn't deserve it.
Yep.
We got a short little jury house segment. Did you guys get anything out of this jury house segment of Muna coming in to greet Katie and Jay West?
Like they don't love an independent woman.
I know.
That's it. Period. I was like, period. They don't. But also,
after this
like,
episode, even more true, right?
Oh God! Which honestly, I didn't even think of that. Now that you say that, that's clear foreshadowing to the end.
Yeah. Katie is over Brent. She is so done with Brent, and she said that she's over the floaters. And so when she said like that she needs the floaters to get out, who were you guys thinking were the floaters of this game? Who is she calling out as the floaters?
Well, it's hard to know because it's changed since Katie's been out. So I don't know if Katie is necessarily like the most in touch with who's floating and who's in control. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Like, I think I agree with what Natalie says later in the episode that like Brendan and Billy are floating in the sense that they're fine with everybody, but they're kind of just constantly throwing plan, and they're both throwing votes. And I feel like in Sequester, that's kind of the definition of what floating is you're throwing votes. You really are only looking after like yourself. You're not really willing to put yourself out there to risk being picked for a battle match. Which is fine, but I also understand how some people aren't going to respect that gameplay. Someone like Katie, who's a very straightforward player.
And wouldn't you say that how this kind of this kind of goes forward to how I'm feeling about the battle matches right now? I'm kind of sick of how every person eliminated gets back in with the battle match. So of course that just naturally lends to being like, oh, this. I mean, I wanted to talk about this later, but kind of like, what's the point of these battle matches? And it's kind of like what you're saying. Is this the way we're seeing how this game is going right now? Now we don't know who wins or what the end game is going to look like, but it's like, is this going to promote this type of strategy for future Sequester live games of you make everybody feel good about you and you don't put your vote on the line? Because we keep on seeing the people who are putting their vote on the line are the ones that are getting pulled into a battle match. So it's kind of, I don't know. You guys know what I'm saying? It's like, are the floaters? Mm-hmm.
It's like we're now incentivizing the floaters in a weird way. And I don't know if it was this bad last season because like Hunter was really the only person that I remember doing it successfully and also getting away with it because everyone else got their games blown up every time they tried it in season 3. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what that little twitch or that little tweak was. I don't know if it's the way that they reveal the voters now. Maybe that lends itself to like, oh, why would I not throw my vote if I have a 3 in, let's say, 9 chance or 3 in 8 chance of getting exposed or 1 in 8 chance, sorry. So like you would think that now it would probably go away, but it's like they're doing it more. So maybe they're just trying to emulate last season, but it's
I think it's because this cast is full of hard gamers that like, I saw, I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Colin Stone put a tweet up that was something like, these people in this show want to avoid a battle match more than people on CBS shows want to win $1 million. Like everyone will do anything to avoid getting picked for a battle match. Like they don't care. Like if they think it's best to like vote for somebody and then like be exposed, and they'll do that. But if they think it's better to throw their vote, they'll do that. Like they will do anything. My jaw hit the floor when the votes at the end of the round came up, and it was a 3-2 to 2 to 2 to 1. Like. Are you kidding me? Like, how does that even happen?
It's like Survivor Borneo, when they're just like randomly voting. Like, there's no voting blocks.
Literally, like, it was like, did any of the conversations just around even matter? Did people just like pick a name, like at the beginning of the round, they just draw a name out of the hat, and like that's who they decide to vote for? Because
Greg Buis, they're just like, we're gonna go by the alphabet. Yeah,
no, that was not Greg. That was Dr. Sean. Come on.
Both. Yeah.
Hat, fake fan.
Greg is also all over the place though, so can't.
I'm trying here, but that it's also true. It's just like when does the scale tip? Because we saw, I almost said last night, which we always say, but we see this week 2 people that are floating get taken out. But like, I wouldn't say Shireen was floating. It just so happened she got caught in the crossfire.
Shireen or Rachel were floating. I don't think
I agree.
I think that they were actually 2 of like the most upfront people.
Yes, and they were that shows too, especially when Rachel was like, "All right, go ahead. You're gonna try and get me. Go ahead. There's definitely other people you can get."
And the one time that Shireen throws her vote, she ends up being picked. I want to bring up a question right now. So we talked about Spencer getting back. He goes to luxury row. Justin says, do y'all think Spencer can rebound and get out from the bottom? So at this point in the episode, when we see Spencer come back, what did Spencer need to do in this moment to not get voted out next?
Man, it's like it's really hard to answer because he made such a bad impression on people last round that it's like, what do you even do? And also, I think we saw in this episode that Jacob maybe was close to people, but he wasn't necessarily people's like number one priority. So I also think that he got a little bit screwed by how the names got chosen for like who dragged who was tethered. I don't know like what he could have done, to be honest.
It's something I feel like there's nothing he could have intentionally done or even intentionally do at this point because he was so over the top. Not necessarily negative, but it depends how you view it this episode. But also like this next round, he really needs something like last week where you like half the house is safe and it kind of is just like, I don't want to say random, but it almost randomly happens based on circumstance. He needs like fate and luck to go his way next week. And then he also needs to like lay low for a week. Like he needs like a cool down to the max. Like he needs to go invisible for a week. And I just don't think that's something that anyone wants to do, A, and B, something that he can really do. He's a strong personality. So
yeah. So like my thought is that he needed to get allies. He needed to get people on his side. We saw him do that with Jacob. They rehashed things and he wants to have that good relationship with Jacob. I think that
the one vote for Spencer was Jacob, ironically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we like saw him, I don't know. I think we just obviously saw at the end that he's not going to pick one of the guys. So maybe he thinks that his alliance is the dudes. So that's what he had to do to get in, is to make an alliance, and he ended up picking the dudes as his alliance.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Brent, I think, genuinely did not want Jacob and Spencer chosen. I think that Brent feels like he's at the bottom, which I think is probably accurate. So I think Brent did want to save Jacob and Spencer in order to keep some of the bottom people in the game. And, he ended up voting for Brendan. And if Brendan goes, Brendan drags Josh with him. Like Brendan is tethered. So I do think that like, whether it was actually through skill or luck, like Spencer was kind of close to staying in this week, because as we saw, like the vote was all over the place. Like if Natalie would have done what she wanted to do and voted for Brendan, like that, it would have been Brendan and Josh up there. And that would have been crazy, because I think right now, like those are two of the front runners to win the game. Like I think they're in impeccable spots. Nobody is really talking about them. And when one of their names is brought up, it gets shut down. Yep. So that would have been a total game changer if Natalie would have put her vote on one of them.
I am dying right now. I'm like laughing to myself. I did not realize that Natalie complained about people are not going to vote up Brendan. And she could have voted for Brendan.
And he would have gone.
And he would have went home. And Josh, too, who was also a huge threat.
Girl.
And that's why this vote is so crazy, because any one person votes differently and the result is different. Like one of those votes for Jacob change, or if one of the votes on the two people, if one of them switches to a different two, then it could have been like a tie, too. Yeah. It could have been a tie vote super easily.
Yeah. And then they would have went to the Wheel of Misfortune, I assume, right?
Or...
I think it was a revote. I think when it was a revote first, you could only vote for one of them.
Revote.
And then if it was a tie, I don't know if it could have been there's 9, so I don't think there was 10. There was 10, so I guess it couldn't have been a tie again. So it would have been 6 people voting.
Yes, yeah.
So it could have been a tie, and then we would have gone to the Wheel of Misfortune,
which is crazy.
One person that Spencer was not going to get on his side this round was Rachel. We got a confessional from her that cracked me up. Like, this guy makes me sick. He disgusts me. I'm going to vote for him every single time until he's gone. I was like, Rachel, you get it? Like, Rachel in confessionals is just like savage, cold. Yep. I'm obsessed with it.
It's gold. It's just like I remember the first week was very low key, but just from seeing her on social media and like checking her out, like on the mini she's played and just doing research in general, she is such a funny person, but such a low key funny person that like she'll say things. And I had this problem too, where I'll say things and people think I'm not being dead ass, but I am. And then it's like, oh, no one's laughing, but I was being funny. She has that like sense of humor. It's so fucking dry. And it's like, it's what we need. We need Rachel. We needed Shireen. And it's like, it's unfortunate that only one or none of them can come back. But those characters plus Muna, like that little alliance was really keeping the middle of the game alive. And it's like, I'm curious to see how it's going to go. If like, I love Jay West, but if he gets back in, how that'll go. Or I forget who was also hinted at
Luna
coming
might
back.
have been.
That's what it was,
Yeah.
right? So we could have one of the three come back. It's just unfortunate, you know, in a row too.
I know.
Well, let's touch a little bit on just what the twist was. I don't know about you guys, but it did take me a while to like fully understand. I like understood what the twist was, but the graphic that went with it for me was a little bit confusing. Which direction the arrows were pointing, because the arrow was not pointing towards the person that would get like dragged with you if you were voted out. It was like the other way. You know what I mean? Whereas like
backwards almost.
The arrow was pointing towards the person that if they got voted out, then you would get dragged. So I was a little bit confused by the graphic.
Yeah.
But after that, I mean, I feel like it was pretty smooth. I guess I was thinking of, you know, tethers from the minis where you're tethered to another person, you're voted out as a couple. So it did take me a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like we've seen this in minis a lot. It's called tethered, so I don't know why they didn't call it tethered, but I like the term ball and chain. That was funny. I feel like I remember seeing this in a mini, the first Sequester mini I ever watched, which was when Rob Has a Podcast. People played a mini, and I'm pretty sure this is the one where I saw Mike Bloom get eliminated out of nowhere because the person he was secretly tethered to got voted out.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, like, no, not Mike Bloom. It was crazy. So I got the twist, but I had to constantly remind myself, okay, so if Brendan is out, Josh is out, because in their confessionals in their diary room, you'd see their picture in the corner.
Right.
Like, okay, so if Natalie's out, Jacob's out. Okay, I got the, you know.
Yeah, you kind of have to keep it open. Yeah, which isn't like bad. I didn't mind like having to like write it down at first just to keep it in. But if it was something like, I know in like the dating one last season, they had like little infographics of like who was with who and all those things. Maybe that would have helped. But obviously that adds more like production to it.
Yeah,
they probably they made it not self-explanatory, but they kind of were like, oh, if you vote for Jacob, you get Spencer.
Yeah,
or,
they focused on that, which was the important part.
Yeah, I agree.
I listened, you know, Audrey sometimes does extra little podcasts for people who are patrons, which if you're not Sequester patron, what are you doing? But I listened to it, the one that she did, I think this week, or it was before this episode aired. And she was talking about how she likes television that you have to work for. She doesn't like kind of this Americanized television where you're just kind of like spoon-fed everything.
Oh my God.
Everything's simplified and, you know, you just want to understand it the first time you watch it. But Audrey based a lot of Sequester off of The Genius, which if you've never seen it, takes a lot to actually figure out what's going on. It's so complicated. Like, you know, and Sequester is on the same level in terms of complicated, but it's just a lot more of a social game. Yeah, if you're complaining about it, like this is I think the intended product, and I enjoy it because it's way different than anything we see on TV.
And the challenge is on Wednesdays if you guys want to be spoon fed. Like you can just check it out. The Amazing Race just ended too if you really want some spoon fed. Though I know I loved especially the most recent season, but also you know that was a caveat. But also the challenge is actually probably more confusing. So if you take the time to just sit and watch what Audrey's putting on for us this season so far. To be grateful for something in the pandemic this is the one thing we should be grateful for. Like the season 4 is killing it. So far.
Yeah. So Shireen said at this point though, after all the like tether, ball and chain, all the picks, Shireen was like, "This is worst case scenario. The house is totally crisscrossed right now, and I know production is like yes, and the audience is like." Yes, the cast is like no, but we loved it. We loved seeing people scramble.
Mm-hmm. You know, I don't think she said that, but then I was actually looking, and it was like Shireen, Marcelo, and Rachel were all right in a row, and like, aren't those two of Shireen's closest allies? Like, it's not. I don't feel like it was a worst case scenario. It's not like you're gonna get Spencer and Brent magically next to each other. Like, you're not gonna be that lucky. Like, it wasn't best case scenario, but I feel like she was being dramatic.
Luke. Worst case.
I mean, I don't know. I'm a big fan of reading edits. So, like in Survivor, like I'm constantly analyzing what are edits, like who's getting negative, like view on them.
Me too.
And Shireen's first confessional, like when she's in her new clothes, when she has the earrings on, and it's like the new round. I was like, from that point on, I was like, Shireen seems extra PO'd today. Like, there's something a little bit off about Shireen's confessional where I was like, I wonder if she gets eliminated in this episode, or at the very least gets, you know, gets to a battle match. So, I
was also like, unfortunately, they've done a really good job hiding who is pissed, but like you could tell, you could totally tell that she was going to be picked for a battle match. That was pretty obvious because especially she had a different shirt on, I'm pretty sure. So I was like, oh, yep. And then I thought Billy was very emotional this episode.
Right.
We saw her cry at the beginning, and she was so pissed. Well, now we know why she was pissed.
Yeah.
But I thought she was going to get pulled too. So that's when she started. Sorry to fast forward, but when she started yelling at the very end of the battle match pick, I was like, "Oh no, here it is! Here's where Billy gets picked."
Well, it makes sense.
I remember seeing that in a teaser on Twitter too, of like little snippets of Billy yelling. So I knew something big was coming with Billy, but it's explosive.
It's very shocking to me. I get strategically why they left Billy, because I feel like if they're going to try and get these like floater type people in that sense of their definition, then Billy's still going to be their next round. But I highly agree. I'm shocked that Billy didn't get dragged in a sense, though, only because we'll get to it, but I feel like she is like a high target at this point. But maybe they're just trying to leave her as like a shield for future rounds. But I'm excited that we still for sure have Billy going into next round.
Yeah. Well, Jacob was targeting Billy a lot this round, saying that, she was shady and was kind of pitching to Marcelo that they get rid of Billy. And then it didn't seem like he was really considering picking her for a battle match because he felt so betrayed by Rachel.
Right.
So, but yeah, we get Brent also frustrated at Shireen. Shireen's frustrated that she has Brent. Brent is frustrated that Shireen is holding court in the dining room. She's just regaling everybody with stories of what she wants to have happen. And Brent is just so over Shireen.
But then they kiss on the mouth. we text in the group chat just especially because me and Hannah are both teachers, but I watch after school on Mondays just so I get through the Monday. And I always text Luke and Hannah, and I was like, I'm sorry, did they just kiss on the mouth? Do I have to remind these people that I don't care how
they're COVID free, baby?
And I trust that, but I'm like, I don't care how negative you are. Don't kiss someone on the mouth. It's gonna keep growing at this point. I'm afraid for where we're gonna end up.
It's gonna get worse and worse.
Showmans. Okay. Anyway,
Jay West loves it.
Oh, Jay West. At least I'm glad that you're out of the house for this PDA, Jay West. I'm so glad. Sorry.
What about Billy whistling on her way? Here she comes. She's gonna go talk to Spencer, and then Jacob says, "Can you give me a moment?" Boop. And that's when. So we just talked about Jacob was kind of going for Billy. Billy was like, "Nope. You don't, not today," right? Oh my gosh. Billy was so emotional this episode, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I mean, I think it can be a bad thing, but Billy is electric TV.
I agree.
Oh my gosh. I was just so tuned into everything she was doing, everything she was saying. And she whips everybody together. She was like, what? She's like, Jacob is done, right? Is that what she was saying? She was like, yep, we're voting out Jacob and we're getting Spencer. She was done with him. Yeah. Don't slam the door in people's faces.
Yeah. And I think it's just it was the 1-2 punch of the Spencer being called out by Muna, but also Muna getting taken out. It's not even how many hours later could it be? And Billy's like, oh, I just lost one of my closer allies, and Spencer was just being a dick. So now I have to go and live with this. So it's hard to let go of that emotional level. And like you're saying, she's such a viscerally positive person. Usually, it's usually radiant from her. So to see her
positive.
Yeah, just just deep in her, I'm just you radiate this positivity. And it's just this episode, I was like, whoa. I kind of liked it, though. I kind of liked heel turn Billy.
And we heard her say in confessionals, what? And I think she even said, did she say this to Spencer? She said, what made Muna so upset with you? She knows that something happened in that relationship and it is not sitting right with her. So she knows that something went down and she is not okay with it.
Yeah. I was also wondering that because, in my opinion, I didn't see anything explosive between Muna and Spencer privately. All I think that was explosive was what happened publicly in front of everybody when he picked her for the battle match. So I'm also curious about that. Maybe we'll get some more insight after the season. But yeah. Now, first Rachel and now Billy, done with Spencer, dead to me. Never working with him, voting him every time.
And wait, not to go back to the point, but I think it is a great question. I think was it Justin that brought it up? Yeah, it was. So Justin's question, just real quick, just to wrap it up too. I think it's also interesting that we're talking about can he rebound. The whole point of a game is to win, Sequester, and to make some strategic moves, be a big character. But for Spencer now to make it to the end, if he makes it, He's already burned Rachel's jury vote because remember, everyone's on the jury. He's already burned Rachel's. We're assuming that he's now burned Billy's. Not that the whole cast, let's say it's a final 2 like it usually is, isn't, there's probably going to be 11. There's going to be 11 more votes, I'd assume. But you got to think, it's like he can rebound and stay in the game, but it's like, can he rebound and win now? That's also like a next step level,
Yeah. He's been posting on Twitter kind of that like Jeff Probst quote of like, Spencer has 0% chance of winning this game. And so I'm glad that like Spencer himself can laugh about it a little bit. Like he realizes these people don't exactly like him very much.
I was gonna say this later, but I'll say this now. Like his social game is like where is it? Where's the social game?
Nope.
Yeah. Like this is why I love Marcelo. I love a good like evil confessional. I love a confessional where you're complaining about people and you're like, these people fucking suck and I'm over this shit. Yeah. But don't do that in front of everybody else. That's not how you're gonna win friends.
You gotta suck up to people.
Yeah, you have to. And use your confessional as therapy. Let's say you're on Survivor. Let's say you're in Sequester. Let's say you're playing an org. Like, what are you going to do? Just vent in the tribe chat? What are you going to vent to your tribe at the fire? No, go to your confessional. Give some good TV. Like you said, Luke Marcello is really killing it, which we'll get to. And I love that because when he goes in there, he is so sassy. And then he walks out and he's like, do you like my pedicure? Like, I love that. I just love that. So you need that. You need to have that.
Right when like the round started, Spencer goes to Marcelo. He's like, dude, we're on the bottom. Like, we got to do something. I'm sure Marcelo said he's like, one of us is on the bottom and it's not me. Like,
yeah,
it's funny that Spencer even thinks that. Maybe because Marcelo was left out of the majority vote last week.
Right.
Which I think if that's the case, if that's why Spencer thinks Marcelo is on the bottom, what a great thing for Marcelo to have happened to him that he was left out of the majority last week because he was in no danger. And now people like Brent and Spencer are going to be going to him for an ally. So that's awesome. Somebody else that feels on the bottom has been Natalie. Sorry, go ahead.
Derek just asked a great question about if we think Josh can win. At the end of this stream, we are going to talk about winning potential from people. So
for everyone,
we're going to, at the end of this, we're going to talk about winner potential. Go ahead, Luke.
I mean, now we know one person in jury is a hashtag Josh Stan, as we saw. So
yes.
But I was going to talk about somebody else who's on the bottom, Natalie, trying to get something going this episode to get out Brendan. And we see, let's see, the first person she tells that we see in the episode is Brent, which, I don't know if Natalie hears the rat noises that we hear when Brent comes on the screen, but if she does, that was a really bad decision on Natalie's part because Brent, I believe, tells Spencer and Spencer tells Brendan and Brendan goes to Natalie and says, so are you saying my name? And Natalie goes, yeah.
And it's like, if her strategy was for people to know, yes, tell Brent first. And not that Brent can't keep a secret. I don't know if we've seen him keep a secret, but I imagine he can if his like game depended on it. Yeah. But if you want everyone in the house to know, tell Brent. And it's like everyone got that memo except for Natalie, and it sucks because she's finally trying to be like, you know what, F y'all, I'm not a floater. I'm gonna make a move. And then Brent was like, you're not. So let's buckle up.
I mean, you do have to tell people in order to get the vote started.
Yes.
And if Natalie's like, well, Brent's on the bottom too, I'm on the bottom.
Yeah.
You have to start somewhere.
I mean, this is where that survivor strategy comes in of you don't tell somebody who we should go for. You ask who we should go for. I know Sequester in the very quick rounds kind of lend to like, hey, let's go for them. Let's go for them. And she's trying to make her move happen. But, sometimes you have to ask and say, like, is this best for us? Who should we go for?
And it's like, this is the one round after being the passenger for the past couple of weeks where she's really upset that she's like not being taken seriously. She finally gets in the driver's seat to drive. And at the very end, which we'll get to, she's then targeted because she's trying to make a move. It's like, what do you want Natalie to do? Like, what is the best case scenario for Natalie then? Do you want to just sit there and be a final 2 GOAT, which is going to look bad for her anyway? So it is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there needs to be some subtlety. I think, like Hannah said, like it is hard to incorporate subtlety into a Sequester game, but I mean, that might help. But that being said, like we mentioned, the vote was super split. It was all over the place. And Brent and Spencer did vote for Brendan. So it's like, it wasn't a total failure. She doesn't know who they voted for because neither of their votes were. Spencer was eliminated and Brent's vote wasn't exposed. So no one knows that Brendan got votes, but it did almost work on accident.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So we have a little Brent and Josh reunion where Brent says, you voted for me last round. What's up with that? And I thought Josh did a great job of explaining himself. I think he hit all the right points. He basically said, I knew you weren't going home. This, separates us a little bit so people don't think we're together. what did you guys think of Josh handling this conversation?
Yeah, I thought it was great. And like Brent told Josh, it's okay for now, but you need to protect me going forward.
Yes.
Okay, got it, Brent. But like I think that they're in a partnership that neither of them maybe want to be in.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the feel I got from them of like, yeah, we're working together. They're totally like lying to each other. Like, yeah, I got you. Like, yeah, you got each other till you don't need each other anymore.
Yeah, I do think Brent is more invested in this than Josh is. I think Josh is like, actually, I have allies now, so I don't need Brent as much anymore. So.
He's like, oh, that was cool when I first got back, but now that I have it, it's like I really don't need it. And it's like it is very much like he's mentioned before in the past, a marriage of necessity. But in this case, it like actually is one. It's like, oh no, you and Josh like truly like for right now do need each other, but you should actually maybe take that seriously for a couple rounds and then figure it out towards like final six. But again, like what Hannah said, I don't know if they're like either of them is taking it that seriously, which they need to for a couple rounds.
So let's talk about when this is kind of a little fast forward when Brent is saying we should vote out Brendan, and then Josh says I have Brendan, and Brent goes and so that was an act because he still voted for Brendan.
Yes.
Yeah, like Brent just looked like a gigantic child in that scene, and it like his outfit didn't help. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a huge toddler just like throwing a temper tantrum right now.
So Brent is not caring about Josh right now. So
No, and it's
this isn't a thing.
I don't want to call him a floater because he's not. But has Brent voted correctly yet? Has he? Not in a mean way. I just don't think he has yet.
I mean, I think he voted for Spencer when it was him or Spencer up on the block, but
that's like
you have to.
Oh, right.
That'll
be interesting to track. Mm-hmm.
I want to look back on that because I know it's at least the second or third round he hasn't voted correctly, quote unquote, and like to use like the Survivor Big Brother way. So I'm curious, like that's not a floating thing, but I'm surprised he has not been called out very explicitly for it yet. Like they kind of mentioned it in this ending of the show where they were kind of like, "Oh, Brent, what about you?" And he was like just cursing out Billy, right? But at the same time, like no one's really pegged him as that type of floater yet. Maybe there's again those type of people in front of him, but when these people start to get whittled down, especially the floater types, he needs to be a little careful, like with just throwing the votes. But we'll see how it pans out, I guess.
So I fast forwarded. Now I'm going to rewind back to where we were. Did you guys think it was a good move when Brendan threatened Natalie and said, "If I get voted out, I'm taking you into a battle match"? Was that the right move?
You know, Rachel was standing right there, and that's when I was like, like you should maybe only do that if you're alone with Natalie because Natalie's not incentivized.
Oh, right.
So like if it was just Brendan and Natalie, it's like she's not going to run and tell people that Brendan just threatened to drag me because it's like, oh, perfect. Well, we know who Brendan's going to drag.
Exactly.
But Rachel was standing there, and it's like, if I was Rachel, I'm like, I'm not really aligned with Brendan or Natalie, so I don't care. Like
to vote them out.
Yeah, them both out at once.
That is
exactly.
Good call. So that might have been the move for her.
Yeah, take an extra test.
She said she was voting for Spencer every round, so it's not the vote for her. She needed to vote out Spencer.
Well, I mean, she voted out for Jacob, which dragged Spencer. So I mean, I think Rachel was so laser focused maybe on Spencer that she was not considering other options.
Gotta be flexible.
Because Jacob got Spencer out, and then they dragged Rachel and Shireen, who's Rachel's like. So that's very interesting too. Another example of like emotional gameplay, which makes sense after everything that happened the previous round. But it's kind of the fact of the matter.
Man, especially like if you think there's an LOS out there, you know, maybe you vote for the person people are not expecting. Anyways,
I forgot about the LOS.
I know, right? Also, when who came up, they're in the laundry room, and Jacob walks in, and I love watching people lie. It is so fun, and so Jacob's trying to talk about who are we voting out, and you see Josh go, "Oh man," you know, he's doing this thing, and Natalie goes, "I'm so confused." Like, so clearly lying. It's my favorite thing. I love when people act confused and like don't talk. You know they're lying. That's the best part about Sequester Mini. You jump into a room and they go, "What did you hear?" And I'm like,
"Oh, whose name did you?" Yeah.
What you guys hear?
Oh, you heard? Oh,
I'm so confused.
I haven't really heard anything.
yeah. It's like, oh, really? We're 7 minutes deep in an 8-minute round. You haven't heard anything. Who are you voting for? Like,
Exactly. Anyways,
but
so I
true.
loved seeing it in person. Loved Josh going,
Yeah.
"Whoa." So bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
It's good.
It's much easier to lie when you have time to prepare for it, but like they're literally all talking about Jacob. Jacob walks into the room and like he heard his name mentioned, and you like if they were just saying his name, it's like isn't it even worth lying to Jacob right now, or like should we just all say his name is being brought up? It's a hard call to make. I was living for Natalie's reads this episode. We already talked about she has Brendan clocked that he is sitting so pretty in this game, literally and figuratively, and she is tired because she's been on the bottom. She's been scraping by, and Brendan is just there, just here on for the ride. And then she also clocks that Billy has her hand in all the cookie jars. Billy is saying that she's good with everybody, but she wasn't good with Natalie when she voted for Natalie 2 rounds ago. So I really do think that like those are 2 great reads by Natalie, because I was saying last week that I think those are probably the 2 people at the top were Brendan and Billy.
It's like, I don't know if it was Serena or Ty. It might have been Serena when we had them on. I can't remember. But someone was saying that there's a very invaluable thing you can do, which is like sit back and watch things occur while the game is unfolding. And sometimes that's perceived as floating. But what has seemed to happen, at least in my opinion, is like we, as people who like commentate on the show and love it, like you guys had it clocked last week, which is already impressive enough to be like, yo, Billy has her hand in every cookie jar, right? But then for Natalie, who was someone who sat back, observed everything, and then was like, week 4, Billy, she has Billy, like you said, completely clocked, Brendan completely clocked, and it's like, she sat back for a couple rounds and then attacked, and it's like, if you can catch your bearings and take a deep breath in this game, you can make some good moves as long as people follow along. Of course, it's going to be a little shaky, especially with a round that's like a 3-2-2-1 vote, but like, she almost made it happen, which is pretty big.
Siri is shaking. 3, 2, 2, 2, 2.
That's I didn't even think of that.
Until you said, I was like, oh man.
Right. That's so true though. It really is. Not that like once you worded it in that way, like the middle parts of the 2s, like all those 2s.
3 2s.
It's 3 2s. I didn't even say enough of them. That's incredible. Like the middle chunk of the game, it's like there's so many people that are floating and throwing their votes that there's actually a significant, like they could be the majority if they all just like band together.
And I don't even think that all of those votes were thrown, to be honest. Like I don't think that Spencer and Brent's votes were thrown on Brendan to not get picked.
No, yeah.
They want him out.
They wanted Brendan out, and they just weren't in on the actual plan because there were so many names going around. Like Brent was in these rooms where people were saying Jacob, but he just thought he had a different plan where people were actually going to vote Brendan, or maybe he was just hoping that people would throw enough votes on Brendan to get him out.
Yeah.
But let me say who I think played the best game in this episode, and that is Josh. I loved the Josh and Natalie conversation about Luxury Row, where Josh says to Natalie, you know, we're the only people that know about it, and whether we got anything or not, which they both are claiming they didn't get anything, we know otherwise. But Josh is like, whether we have something or not, when people find out about it, they will think that we have something. So it's in our incentive to keep as few people in the game knowing about Luxury Row as possible. And so this is where Josh kind of nails home, like, we need Jacob and Spencer to go because Spencer knows about it. So either he is gone and that's one less person, or he wins the battle back and he goes back there and there's still not an extra person knowing about it. And so I really like that from Josh, because he not only did he bond with Natalie, but he's also like very aware of just like Luxury Row and how that could put a target on his back. So like A+ from Josh, in my opinion, in that scene.
Yeah, and that's what Derek said earlier about Josh has done an amazing job reducing his target and has worked his way into some good relationships. I would say one of those relationships is Natalie. Is he still close with Billy? Did we see much footage of that? But I mean, I think you can assume that, right?
No, I feel like we did in this episode. Like we saw when Brendan's name was brought up, and Billy found out that Brendan was tethered to Josh. Billy looked at Josh and like Graham was like, if Brendan has you, then I'm not voting. I'm not voting for him. And I think Josh did the same thing with Billy. Like, you know, he said to her, I want you in more than I want Spencer out, because Billy had Spencer.
And I listened to Shireen's exit interview on Rob Has a Podcast, which I highly recommend. Yeah. I have not I haven't gotten to Rachel's exit interview yet, but I listened to Shireen's, which was so good. And she talks about how she was close with Josh too. Josh was her guy. So he really has worked himself into some good relationships.
And he's proof that if you put your head down, you make those social bonds, which you both were saying earlier, you can flip from the bottom. It's just you have to put in that social work to get that social capital. And like how they were saying later in the episode with the credit card, like, oh, like I forget who said it. It might have been Jacob. I think it was Jacob, where it's like, oh, you can throw your vote on me, but now I can throw your vote back on you. You need to have that social capital. And it's like Josh built that up. And it's the little things like what Luke brought up with like the little things of like, I'm going to tell you in a nuanced way that this is what we have to do because it's best for our game. But in reality, it's like Josh being like, this is best for my game. I have the freaking LOS. So if you don't say anything, it helps you, but also it helps me. So it's those little things.
Absolutely.
Should we jump into the vote reveal? I mean, we'll jump into the vote. I don't know. Is there anything else before we?
No, this is like the meat of the episode. So there's a lot.
First off, we see them vote. Brendan voted for Rachel. And if Rachel got voted out, Brendan was also out. What?
I just don't get it.
Shireen says that she's so over the throne votes, and then she throws her vote. And then later we find out that Billy self-voted.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
You did not realize?
No.
Yep.
So you saw her little picture slide in like this with her little self-vote up right beside her.
I think that clicked in my head. That's you have to watch it twice.
You know how in the episode she was like, I don't have to reveal my vote. I don't have to reveal my vote. You can't do that. It's like, I don't want to reveal my vote.
Would you vote for Billy? Billy. What? Wait, that makes so much more sense.
Okay, but also no sense at all, a little bit.
Oh, no. It makes no strategic sense.
Someone explain Brendan's vote to me. I don't get it. What? Why was that great for him to vote for Rachel?
I feel like if you were to go through the list of names, I feel like there's other people. Like, is anybody mentioning Marcelo's name? Because if Marcelo goes, he drags Rachel with him. Like Brendan could have thrown his vote on Marcelo. Maybe Brendan wanted to throw his vote on somebody who he was not close with, that he also didn't think would go. But I mean, that's a huge gamble when your name is already out there.
So like in case he threw it on Marcelo, Marcelo was not going though.
No, but here's the thing: Brendan didn't want his vote revealed.
Okay.
So even if, if Brendan votes for Marcelo and then Jacob's like, Brendan, who'd you vote for? Marcelo, then Marcelo's pissed. I think Brendan maybe felt like there was a chance he was going home, but he maybe feels confident in a battle match. And also maybe he did feel confident enough that he wasn't going home. He didn't know how many votes were going to be thrown in all different directions. He thought the plan was Jacob. So I'm not saying it was a fantastic move, but I do understand.
He knew his name was out there. If you know, Shireen said, if you know your name is out there, you vote for the other name.
It really is like a self vote at that point because it would have dragged himself out. But it's also a good point that you said if he just voted the other way, then he could have just gotten Rachel out. So that's why I'm like, that is a head scratcher. There's a lot of head scratchers in these voting choices. I feel like it's like, I'm not saying it's a messy round, but I feel like this is the round that's most true or like truest to a Sequester mini game where it's like a bunch of random votes and you're like, what the fuck? Why'd you vote for yourself?
So Blizzard, Brendan's brother, had this tweet like weeks ago, a couple episodes ago, that lives rent free in my head. He said, every time Brendan throws a vote, my heart grows another size. And I'm like, yes, like I love Brendan's crazy votes. They are amazing. They're chef's kiss. So this was crazy, but you know what? I'm here for Brendan all the way till the end.
Well, here's one of the reasons Brendan's not being targeted. No one's ever revealed his vote before.
Yeah.
Like that's honestly the best thing. It's not even like I don't even care that he throws his votes. It doesn't even matter who you throw your vote on if you don't get your vote revealed.
Yes.
So in my opinion, that's how good he's doing at making people feel like he's not voting for them. So there's no point in revealing his vote because you know where my vote's going. Like I'm voting for who I said I was going to vote for. So I need to reveal it.
Yes, like we're good here. We don't need it. And it's like, no, we actually do, sir.
We're good.
Yeah, like if only they knew. Like I think if like let's just say hypothetically everybody's vote was revealed, or like his vote was revealed every round, like I think he would be targeted soon.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So so we find out that Jacob is out, Spencer's with him, and Spencer said last week, I'm not here for anyone's coronation, but I am so sick of the Spencer show. And Jacob was also, they were just like they wanted all the attention. They wanted to be so dramatic and so like, it was too much. It was way too much. I was totally here for when Jacob was muttering to Spencer at the end. I thought that was hysterical.
He's
so
like,
I'm okay for that. I'm okay for that moment. That was hysterical. But I'm done with the grand old speech about I'm on the bottom, y'all are blah blah blah. So that was so boring.
Yeah.
It was very boring.
Yeah.
It was.
We saw this last week. Like, this is like a rerun. We don't need that.
It's anticlimax to the extreme. It's like, all right, we got it.
Yeah. Got it. And Luke, do you want to? You said earlier before we started the stream about how like on your second watch you were like kind of like dreading getting to this part again.
Yeah, I would say the first time I watched through, I would like these segments haven't lasted as long in previous episodes. And like in previous episodes, I think it's been one of the highlights of seeing this huge dramatic moment. And it's like kind of just a couple minutes of like really rich TV. And in this episode, it just kind of dragged on. So I was like ready for it to be over long before it was over. But on my second watch, I think I was dreading it so much. And then in reality, it was actually pretty entertaining and not as bad as I remembered. So
I mean, how many times in these shows like Survivor and Big Brother, you wish you could have seen more of what happened, and we saw more of what happened, and it was cringy, it was awkward, but it was it's good to have as much information as you can, especially in this type of situation that got a lot of controversy. So
the first time, and I paused it in between because my laptop died, which I told y'all before. But when I was watching this through, I was like, this is like some like villain shit in the way I haven't seen in like Sequester. Like I was like, this is some Parvati and Russell, like some Kyle and Jason. Like this is some like actual like Survivor like
you did
villain.
Not just say Kyle and Jason.
Kyle, Jason, and what's the other dude's name? Scott. Duh. You guys, teacher. No, please call me out. Especially if I'm a Survivor super fan. For the love of God, I need to know that. But like that level of villainy, where I was like, yo, this is like, I'm glad we have this for Sequester. Could have done without the Muna beef because that was like, I really just didn't fuck with that. But at the same time, like, this is like wild that they're just like going for the kill. Like, you
gotta live long enough as the hero to become the villain, and that just happened in a 2-episode arc.
Yes, literally. Jacob's like, oh my God, the heel turn, Jacob. Come on.
Yeah, one thing I was not a fan of for Jacob was, I need all of you to look me in the eye right now. Like, everybody make eye contact and then go down the line, look you all in the eye. And it was kind of like...
That's a teacher move, right? That's such a teacher move.
It is. Be like,
yeah.
Be like, who read last night? Be like, okay, why aren't you looking me in the eyes? Like, but it's true.
I tell kids that I have a superpower. I tell children, I'm like, yeah, I have a superpower. I can tell when someone's lying to me. I'm like, try it, lie to me. And they'll lie to me. I'm like, you're lying. And anyway,
awful.
That was a great story, wasn't it? But you could totally tell
teacher cast.
Yeah, you could totally read someone when they're not fessing up to something.
It's just it's amazing.
What about, speaking of someone not fessing up, Billy protecting her vote reveal like crazy. She convinced them that she voted with them. Oh, I mean, that was an amazing move by Billy.
She's gotten away with so much this season too, especially because I forget the exact wording of it. She was the killer, right? I was gonna say assassin. So she was the killer, and then she threw a vote, which that didn't go that well last time. But she did it again. I didn't know she threw it to herself this round, so that's even news to me. But the fact that she threw a vote to herself and then manipulated them to be like, no, guys, like, you don't trust me. Why would you trust me? Why would I do that again?
I don't play like that, bro.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. And then Marcelo looking great here, coming in with the yo, chill, it's all good. Like very calmly next to her, being like, no, it's all good. You can chill.
Reveal her vote, and they said, Billy, who did you vote for? And she said, Billy. I would have lost. They would have lost it.
They would have lost it. They would have picked her, I think. If she said she voted for herself, they would have picked her so fast.
100%. 100%.
Especially after that drama. She had to go 100% into I was loyal. I'm loyal. I don't play like that. She had to go, oh my gosh. It wasn't at this point, but it was later. This was in her Brent drama, but she goes, You see these tears? These are angry tears.
I love her.
That was the best part. These are angry tears. She made herself cry defending her vote, and she voted for herself.
I need that type of like support in my life. Just being like someone who's gonna back me up to the point of actual tears. But it's like
when I play Among Us, I need to go to the point of tears. I am not the imposter.
I'm gonna cry in this Discord chat.
And I'm not gonna lie, I would definitely vote for you if you started crying.
I know, yeah.
Like vote you out or for the win?
Vote her out. Vote her out.
I don't deal with emotions.
No. But, okay, I gotta be honest. Even though Billy was fantastic TV, brought the entertainment, brought the drama, I found myself very annoyed over all of this. I'm so loyal. Like, I'm loyal to people who I said I was loyal to, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, but here's the thing. Everyone is going to be so irritated. Like, I cannot stand hearing somebody preach about loyalty to that degree if they're lying about it. Like, this is the thing. If Billy gets the final 2, hypothetically, she has to like really fess up to how much of a liar she was. And I don't think that she's going to. I think that she's going to say, I played a loyal game. Like, I was loyal to the people I was loyal to. But it's like, you were literally swearing your loyalty to all of us. And I would not vote for that person that swore their loyalty to me up and down and swore their loyalty to everybody and then didn't own up to it. I'm not here for it.
So if she owns up to it, though, you think she could?
Yeah, I think if she said, yeah, I was lying to you, like, I need her to directly, like, look me in the face, like, look me in the eye right now,
get in the line.
And say, like, yeah, I screwed you over. I was not loyal to you. I was loyal to a couple people, and you were not one of them. That's what I would need her to say. And I think that she's going to do what she did in this episode and kind of, like, dance around, like, well, technically, I said that I wasn't going to vote for you that round, and technically, I didn't vote for you that round. But, yeah, I was going after you. It's like, well, I don't care, like, what you technically did. Like, were we aligned or not?
Yeah, that is a fair point. And I think it's like a lot of jury people, especially, I don't want to say game bot because these people aren't very body, but they are gamey type people, are very much in the mindset. And I'm in this mindset too of I don't care as long as you don't like drag my family through the mud or make fun of like some of my identities. Like if you sit there, play me like a fiddle, but then you sit there in Final Tribal and you at least made me feel some sort of solace and you made me feel like a good person and you can tell me I lied to your face and you believed it. On a game level, for me, that's totally fine. And I would still vote for her to win. But it's true, though. She kind of has to start being like picking these battles and being like, where am I going to draw the line between loyalty and not? Especially because Shireen and Rachel assumedly aren't going to be there. Plus, Muna isn't going to be there either. So it's like, you got to start picking your battles now because they're running out of people to go for. But yeah, she does have to sit there in final, like she said. And I did the research for Billy, but when we got in here, like I did it for all, like we all did them for all of them, but the designated one for Billy and her RHAP interview with Taryn, she was saying, I made it to the final 2 in my first mini, but I effed up the final tribal, the final talk, and like she gave bad speeches because she was like, well, I had no idea that was part of the game. So if she walks in there to that final, I hope to God she learned from that.
We saw her emotion tonight. I mean, she will kill tribal if she brings that heat.
It's gonna be good if she's there.
She just says whatever she can, just give votes. She'll say whatever.
Yup.
I don't think she will. I think that she is a person like. I think that in her mind, she's playing with integrity, and I do think that she's going to bring that into. I think that's going to be one of her arguments in tribal councils. Like, I played with integrity, I was loyal, and it's not going to. I mean, we see how that goes over in Survivor when you're somebody that's saying you were loyal the whole time. Like, no, because we can prove you wrong that you weren't loyal. Yeah. So actually, you're wrong.
Yeah, it's like Coach in South Pacific. He literally,
that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, basically lost because he couldn't say it.
Also, someone who I was thinking of, even though I think this person would have won, was Vanessa from Big Brother 17. I feel like Vanessa was the most like extremely manipulative person like ever in Big Brother. Like she was so manipulative. She like what's the word, like gaslighted people of like making herself the victim all the time. And she did not own up to it in the diary room. And that's why I think during the season, fans were like so annoyed with Vanessa because all we want you to do is say that you're manipulating people and you just won't do it. And I know I've kind of repeated myself, but that's why I'm so frustrated with Billy because her social game is so good in terms of getting people to like her. But I don't think in terms of getting people to respect her game if she makes it to the end.
Yeah. I can empathize because I literally play the exact same way as Billy whenever I play orgs. Granted, I've never played a live game yet, but at the same time, I play a very good social game to the point where I want everyone to like me just in my life. That I've learned I have to burn bridges. You have to burn a bridge or two, because when you get to the end, you can't say I was loyal to everyone. No, if you're the final two, then obviously you had to burn some people, and it's like. Hopefully Billy has learned that too, to be like, it's okay to burn a couple people as long as you're not burning them on a personal level. You do have to draw a line in the sand, and the line in the sand is not voting for yourself.
That might be.
It's not. Like,
that might be her downfall. We might just be predicting her downfall. That's what's gonna happen to her.
Yeah, I can easily see it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I think that her and Brent. I think what happened that's irreparable in my opinion. I think that like. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know who Billy's going to be gunning for more, Spencer or Brent. Like, who is more dead to her at this point? I mean, Jacob's dead to her, Spencer's dead to her, Brent. Like, she's running out of people who are not dead to her. Like,
she just lost 2 people too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, she lost 2 people. I mean, she might be getting one back, but I'm really glad that we got the drama. And you know, whatever you think about Brent, I do think maybe he overstepped a little bit, like maybe he was a little too confrontational, but like the moment that started it all, Billy was just looking at all 4 people and was just saying, hey, you know, fight for it. And Brent just goes, Billy, stop kissing their asses. And I was like, what was even the point of doing that, Brent? Like, I think Brent literally in that moment was just like, I'm bored, I'm gonna start something. Like, it was just light a spark and like.
And also, he wanted to call out what she was doing.
Yeah, which he was. It's true.
Yeah,
I think
that was good.
I don't know if like he should have said it that way. I think that was like, Billy, stop kissing their asses. I think he could have been.
He was just like pestering her. Okay, did Billy say you're a C? Is that what she? What was she?
No, I don't think she said that.
What was she saying? She goes, "You're a C." I could not understand what she said.
I have to do like the New York slang translation, but she's not even from New York.
Let me go back. And
she's from the South. I think.
If anybody knows what that was, I couldn't
I lived for that. When she was popping back, I was like, this is the best moment of the season.
These are angry tears.
Yeah.
These are angry tears.
I'm just dead because I would be Marcelo. Girl bye. And Marcelo was like, he's like, it's not worth it. I was like, yo, why is he so calm? Like, she's screaming basically in his face, not at him, but at least I would be crying if someone screamed near me. That's why I can't do these shows, because I would just be in tears also. I'd be an anxious puddle.
Angry tears. We need to talk about Queen Natalie calling out Spencer for the worst move of picking Natalie. When Spencer first picks Natalie for the battle match, and what has stuck with me since I finished watching it for the first time, is when he picks Natalie, the stupidest move. If he's all about I'm on the bottom, blah blah blah. Natalie, we're gonna battle. Like, what?
Get out of here.
She was like, I'm on the bottom too.
About how you took out so on my second watch, we see a confessional after Natalie does an amazing job saying, you're punishing me for when other people went against you too. Anyways.
Yeah.
Spencer, we cut to a confessional where Spencer goes, she was right. Like, I made an awful move. So at least he knew afterwards that was the stupidest move. I think that it does show that he only wants to get girls in the battle match. He wants to keep the dudes in there. I think that's pretty obvious. But good job, Natalie, for getting the the battle match off of her. I love how she like slightly says like, well, I'm pissed at Brent. He's like,
he's like, yo, what? I wasn't even what?
Yeah, I know. I was like, I don't think that Natalie should have said that. Like, what's the point? Like, because that really didn't have anything to do with not being picked for the battle match. Like, she did not need to say that.
She's like, man, fuck Brent. And then also, and it's like, all right, what?
He asks her, he goes, so who do I pick? And I really wish she wouldn't have said like 3 people. I really wish that she would have picked the one person she wanted. If she's going to offhand say that she's pissed at Brent, just say pick Brent.
Right. Yeah, I think that's
say with one.
I think it's kind of hard to figure out who Spencer will pick that you want to also say, but she needs to make her call right there. What if she was like, just get Brendan. Just take
Well,
Brendan out.
You know why I think that would have worked is Jacob was also telling Spencer to pick Brendan.
Yes.
Jacob,
That wasn't
high
working.
key.
That's the problem. It wasn't working.
I know, but I'm like, maybe if Natalie and Jacob were both telling him, like, Brendan is in a good spot, like, Brendan is shady, like, Brendan is not with you as much as you think he is,
Spencer's afraid of
maybe.
going against guys. He only wants to go against girls. So that this is null and void anyway. So
3 girls in a row, too. I mean, granted, one of them was Jacob, but I know. And it's like they were already... Did they start the season 1 woman down as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, not that it's like a gender thing, but it's also like, you're trying to be...
a gender thing when he keeps picking... When he's making one.
Yes, exactly.
Was, 3 girls in a row, like Muna, Natalie, Shireen. He wasn't...
And like the queens, too. It's like the queens of confessionals. I'm like, can we get one of them back, please? Or Jordan. Like, can we get one of them? Because I'm like, please. Like, I need like... And not that everyone left isn't entertaining, but it's like if you look at the pre-jury, like I hate saying that because obviously they're all in jury, it's like iconic people. This is a great cast, so we're still gonna have like hard hitters. But it's like, can we get Muna back? Can we get Shireen back? I mean, I don't like personally, like I don't like Katie's game style, but I do like her confessionals. I'm like, can we get her back? I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, stop going for the threats. Stop going for people that you think are like these big, like you're trying to be a big physical threat, and then you just were playing in a fucking litter box and getting little pieces of beads. Like, you're good. Like, you look dumb now. And it's crazy because like I do like Spencer. I do like his tweets. I do like his takes for the most part. I find him entertaining. But at the same time, like the past 2 episodes, it's making me feel really bitter for choosing him in our draft because I'm like, I feel personally responsible for all of this trauma that we were all inflicted upon.
Personally responsible. No,
like
fine.
Regina George. Like, truly.
Don't cry about it, Pat. One thing that I was reminded of was, so the episode that Natalie got voted out, we saw her pick Katie, and Katie starts arguing back that, why she shouldn't be picked. And we think we said on that podcast, like at that point, Natalie cannot let Katie get out of it again because we just saw that. Like if she would have changed her pick, it would have looked like she was manipulated by Katie. I think similarly in this episode, I think Spencer really did not want to pick somebody that Jacob was telling him to pick. I think he let Natalie get away with like saying pick somebody else at the bottom because it was like such an obvious thing, like such an obviously bad pick. But I think later when Jake was trying to give him suggestions like, I don't think you should pick Shireen. I think you should pick Brendan. I think Spencer was like, I can't be seen as manipulatable. Like I can't be seen as like somebody is telling me what to do. And I think that's part of the reason why, like once he picked Shireen, like he wasn't going to change again. Like he'd already changed his mind once.
He still had that vibe though. It was pretty obvious by the way he was like, oh, who do I pick? Natalie, like who's on the top? He still has that.
Oh, he still looked terrible. He still looked so bad. But I think in his mind, he was like, I don't want to let Jacob tell me who to pick. Like I wanted to like at least look like my own decision. So
it's just like, here's my issue with this, and it's also the issue with Natalie, not an actual issue with her, but the gameplay. When you're listing, like, for example, Natalie, you're listing the 3 people that you would choose instead of yourself. Well, you just gave out basically 3 people. It's almost like revealing your vote 3 times. It's like, here's my first person, here's a second, here's a third. Same thing with Spencer. Like, you're giving the whole rationale. You're putting on a show. Wow, great. We love that as people who commented on this and as viewers who watch it multiple times. But at the same time, that is awful for your game. Just say, I'm choosing this person. Or if you want to discuss with Jacob, be quiet to the side to Jacob. It's okay to put on a show, but for your game, you're already on the fucking bottom. Like, why are you now being like, well, here is the reason I'm choosing this person, and I'm choosing them because this person. And it's like, all right, we got it. Great. Yeah. But keep it succinct for your own game's sake.
He wants a coronation. He wants his own coronation.
Yes.
Wants that.
Yeah.
You know what? Did you guys catch when Jacob said, anybody want cake?
I did on my second watch. It
was such a quick clip, and I was like, yeah he did not just say that.
We love a legal reference.
It was so good.
It's Keisha's birthday.
Yeah, we did not even touch on Brent versus Shireen yet because that was something that happened also. So Shireen gets picked, and Shireen starts throwing Brent under the bus. And Brent basically says, like, Shireen voted for Rachel. Like, if anybody threw their vote, if anybody's floating through the game, like Shireen threw her vote on Rachel, her closest ally. Rachel was never mentioned. Shireen calls Brent a rat. This guy will throw anybody under the bus. It was all over the place. Who do you think came out looking better, regardless of who Spencer picked? Who came out looking better, Shireen or Brent?
Brent got the once he didn't have to have his vote revealed, which I don't think his vote wasn't that big of a deal, but he got to claim whatever he wants. Yeah. Like, I'm loyal. I did what you said I would do.
Well, and he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was accurate. He did.
I think Brent came out looking the same as he did before, if not a little bit better, whereas Shireen looked worse, even though she played it off with her words very well. But also, she got voted out and might not come back in. So it's kind of hard to say, like, well, Brent at least stayed neutral, got a little better, and is still in the game for the most part right now. Not necessarily with agency, but he's there. So that's always a good place to start. But you know, he like you guys said, he did what he said he was planning to do, and for him right now, he kind of needs to do that and buck up and just vote how he said he was going to vote, and not do any shady throw votes, especially for right now. He doesn't need that.
I think that's a good balance to have of like, maybe you shouldn't be somebody who only votes straightforward or somebody that only throws their votes. Like maybe like switch it up. Like if your vote gets revealed that you were throwing it, like maybe next time vote how you say you're going to vote.
Yeah.
I think there could be like a delicate balance of doing that, or just be like Brendan and never have anybody reveal your vote. That's ideal.
Yes.
But one thing that I thought was a really bad look was when Brent and Shireen are fighting, Brent is saying like Shireen and Billy are running the game. And then Billy speaks up. I think this was so bad. She's like, loyalty is running the game. And I was like, Billy, you did not just say that. You did not just admit that you and Shireen are loyal to each other and running the game, because that's basically what you just admitted. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, if Billy and Shireen, if I don't feel like they're loyal to me, then I'm on the outs, basically.
Right.
It's very ostracizing in that way, which is not good.
Yeah. No, I'm like, oh, Billy, like you just, no one knows where your true loyalties lie, so just don't.
There was
where they lie.
That's just another moment this game where Billy just snapped, which is funny. That's what I tweeted before this episode even aired. I tweeted the trailer and I'm like, Billy snapped. Like she snapped this episode.
Title of the episode is not Olive Branch, it's Billy Snapped.
Billy snapped. No olive branches. So man, she just needs to take a moment and I think this was the last challenge of the night. Like hopefully she can get some sleep, think about what's best for her moving forward and figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of Olive Branch, I was living for the Shireen of it all when, look, she knows she's getting picked and she is ready to just go in on Spencer. Like she's like, I have nothing to lose at this point. Let me just tear this boy to shreds of just like, people are offering Olive Branches and you're burning at every point. You have no social game. If you think you're going to win this way to the end, you're dumb. Like it was phenomenal.
It was so
like, Shireen is just like one of those super competent people that like, her mind is so quick and she can just like whatever she thinks comes out of her mouth and it's always intelligent. Like if I just like, you know, go like no filter straight from like brain to mouth, I sound like a moron. But like when Shireen does it, she sounds just like eloquent and accurate and like it cuts deep. That was so good.
That's our Google Calendar queen right there.
Yeah,
she knows her shit. Like it's crazy.
Calendar queen.
It's like she was on the Brains tribe. She created Google Calendar, which is the most.
She was not on the Brains tribe. Oh, she was on the white collar tribe. I guess.
Sorry. Why? Damn.
Blue collar has brains too, Pat.
Blue collar does have brains. I would argue red.
You're having an awesome super fan day.
Can you tell like
third faux pas of the day?
And not even just faux pas, like Survivor faux pas. This is embarrassing. I'm gonna leave.
Like, you're still in school. I'm off of school right now, so that's
teach your cast. But yes, you know, let's see. We have the battle match.
My favorite message from you is like you're like they are not digging in litter boxes.
I know. Listen, Audrey. I would love to be on the show. I don't think I'm that entertaining, but I would love to be on it, girl. But at the same time, like, listen, you're providing us with like the most amount of entertainment. And for that, we thank you. We thank the 13 people playing, production, the whole 9 yards. It's just a litter box for me because, and here's what I'm thinking about here. What an endurance challenge. I understand the gender neutrality of challenges. However, I think there needs to be some sort of like skill going on. Are endurance challenges something you want in Sequester? Can that be something that, like, listen, if they had to stand on, like,
I would love that.
That's
that lasts
like
too long though. They want to do quick rounds, I think.
That's what it has to be,
What
right?
if it's the last one of the night?
That's what I'm saying. Right here,
they come back into the but then production is
they have to do confessionals. There's maybe I think you know what Audrey is saying in the podcast is like they want more people volunteering, they want more production. So maybe in the future they could do confessionals simultaneously while a challenge is going on if only 2 people are in it. So
y'all get what I'm saying though. Yeah.
Battle back, you know?
Yes. And it's like, and that's the thing too, like, you know, I'm not gonna get up here and bash her because I love Audrey. I love the show. And it's like that, we have seen so much improvement in quality that I wouldn't trade this improvement in quality over the past from season 2, 3, and now 4 for an endurance challenge where they stand on a beam and hold up a pole. I wouldn't trade it all for that. But I am saying, like, it is very almost anticlimactic. I'm not the battle match, but we'll get to the battle back where they're just stomping on balloons. Like, it just came off. It just like wasn't compelling for me, at least. But I'm thinking, like, for this though, I do like the one positive I will say is the skills neutrality of it all. When they are going through the sandboxes and they do have to find the beads, there's a healthy amount of like luck and fate, a healthy amount of like, you don't have to sprint, you don't have to be crazy athletic, you don't have to lift up a huge boulder and lift up a little tiny pebble from under it. It's a little thing, you can go in there, it's very even, it's all good for different people of different abilities and different genders and all those things. So I do appreciate that. I'm not getting up here bashing it, but at the same time, like, it's also a kind of healthy amount of situational irony when Spencer is constantly dunking on the women in this game, and then he has to go into a litter box and take out little beads. Like, that had me dead. Like, that was it. That was the icing on the cake. I was like, you know what, Audrey? If you're doing this on purpose, you are an evil mastermind because it's hilarious. Like, it's so good.
I'm the best one. You're gonna battle me. You're gonna battle me in the battle match. I'm gonna beat you all.
And then he's like, I only have a 0. Do you guys have any higher numbers? I was dead. Like,
0, the chance he has of winning the game.
Yeah, Spencer.
Like, I found a 5.
Yeah, and he was like hype. I was like, oh, I love it. And I know.
One challenge that I liked from a previous season that I don't know if they're going to bring it back, but if they should bring it back, it was kind of like War the card game. I think you had like numbers like 1 through 12, and then you had to like, it's a strategy game.
We'll probably see it.
Yeah.
Better. And like, honestly, look, The Genius is a Korean show, and not that many people have seen it. Like, Audrey, literally just take challenges from The Genius. And
we'll take it.
Please. Because, and I know some of the ones in The Genius are like kind of like social games, or like people that are other people in the game can influence it. I don't think that Audrey wants that dynamic in the battle matches. But look, I'm sure there's something where there's a skill involved that's not physical, it's like a mental, strategic type of game.
Yes.
So yeah, I would love to see something other than litter boxes and balloons.
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of balloons, like, we saw Jay West get a ticket, we saw Muna possibly get a ticket. Who do you think's coming back out of can we say that it's one of those two that are coming back?
I would say there's like an 80% chance. No, I'd say like a 90% chance that it's one of them. But I think there's a 10% chance it's someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if Jay West we saw him so excited, right? Like, do you think that it's what if Jay West got so excited and it's not him?
Yeah. Was that like a blue herring? Like when something's like purposely misleading?
Red herring?
Red herring? Yes. I think a blue herring is a real bird, right?
Me as the English teacher being like,
wait, what is it?
Red herring is like when you put something in there. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think I read books? Like,
I'm not gonna get up here and bash anyone. That's not my character.
That's my first mistake of the night, Pat. So keep that in mind. Two more mistakes.
And it was about literary elements. It's not even about Survivor, which we podcast about. So I don't blame you.
Okay. So anyway, that could have been a red herring that like Jay West was so excited, but also like, maybe one of the people thought they found a piece of paper and like it was a piece of balloon or something.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I was thinking.
You don't know. Like maybe Rachel's gonna come out of nowhere and be like, "Hey, actually, guys, I found it like 10 minutes ago. Like, it was in my pocket the entire time."
It would be so chill. Based on the edit of this season, the people that when we've seen them go out have talked about the battle back are Jay West and Katie. Those are the two. Muna did bring up the battle back, but her last words on her episode felt very final. It felt like her story was over. I think Katie and Jay West have still more to be seen. I am here for the Jay West return.
Me too. I was just gonna say that.
For it.
Yeah, the only thing about the Jay West return is like then there's like literally 4 women like are the first 4 people out. I would like to see a woman return to the game.
Fair.
And like, look, I love me some Jay West.
I gotta say that, yeah.
I love Jay West. I love Jay West. He's great. I would offer him an olive branch and not burn it.
Us pre-gaming for the freaking next minis.
The Luke versus Jay West mini is actually going to be like a Luke and Jay West mini like working together.
The Redemption Island, but you start in the same tribe and there's no one else playing. We go straight to Final Tribal.
That'll be our last recap episode. We'll just have continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I don't know if we can really look at the final words as like an indication of edit, because I don't necessarily know that those were edited. Like, I think those might have just been like, hey, just give us like a quick, like last thought, and then that's what they posted. It's kind of like in the Survivor final words, like after someone's voted out, they go, oh, like I'm so disappointed, blah blah blah. Like that doesn't necessarily play into like, are they going to return from Edge of Extinction or Redemption Island or whatever. So
yeah, and they're just like, they're like, if you ask me back, I'll come back for second chances too. It's like Chelsea from Ghost Island. We're not asking you back, homie. Like, you got your chance. I know, Queen. But like, my point being, here's my thing too. Because the very end, they were like, Jay West got a ticket, and then Muna got it, and then like fell down and cried or something. But they didn't say she got it. They said whoever that second person was fell down and cried or something.
No,
like
I think it was Muna. It was Muna.
It was definitely Muna.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
I feel like it's Katie. I don't know. I would love to see Katie back. I think she would mess up something.
Yeah,
we need that.
Look, we love a chaotic force that's not afraid to say names. Yeah, I kind of get a little bit of a Katie vibe because she's the one giving the confessional. So I could see us like, how we see like the last confessional from the previous episode. I could see like that's what starts the next episode. Is like, hey, he's like, I see Jay West holding a ticket. I see Muna crying on the ground. And then I see the ticket on the ground and I pick it up.
Yes.
Like it could just be like the confessional like cut off like 5 seconds early to like conceal who won.
Yes.
But look, it could be Shireen or Rachel too, to be honest. So
yeah. All right.
It's anybody's chances.
It could be a blue herring for all we know.
Yes.
So we at the end, I mean, they have a Live Reality Games has a podcast happening at 8:30, y'all, and we kind of wanted to talk about like, who we see as having winner potential.
We could do this next week.
Yeah, so next week we could do that. We've already brought up Josh. We think Josh is playing awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, we low-key said this, but Marcelo is playing
That's my number one.
But he was under-edited this episode. He was very under-edited.
And I'm always here. I'm Team Brendan all the way. I just think he's playing so great. I think he's going to get clocked soon, but I think that he can escape the clock of his game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if he, like, hypothetically gets called into, like, 1 or 2 battle matches over the next few rounds, if he wins them and gets to the end, he can say, like, no one was even on to me for, like, 4 rounds of, like, how good I was playing. And, 4 rounds out of 13 is, like, that's something.
Chunk of the game. That's a third of the game.
He's getting called out much less than anybody else is getting called out. That's for sure. I would say, like, Brendan and Josh, for me, are the 2 front runners.
I have Marcelo as number 1, just because I think he's playing that nice middle game, but not too floaty. And I would say my number 8, technically, or my last place, would just have to be Spencer. I feel bad, but there's no way he could win at this point.
Jay West has a better chance to win than Spencer. That's how Spencer's doing.
I made the list, and I didn't even know. We don't know who the returnee is going to be. I put returnee above some of the people that are left.
You actually ranked Spencer 13 out of 13.
Yes.
Like, everyone in jury has a better chance of winning than Spencer.
Literally, yes.
I just realized that, like, we just listed a bunch of men.
I know.
I gotta give it up for Billy. I'm worried that she will not be able to recover from all these votes and the self vote. But I cannot deny that Bill. I've said last week, Billy is playing an amazing game. I would love to see Billy win. I would love to see her own her game at the end, and I really hope she can pull it out. I love everybody.
My wish list final 2 is Billy CEO and Jordan J. West in the final 2, because that freaking one-on-one jury speech would be just so good, and for Billy to win in the end and for Jay West to still be scorned, it would be great.
Why do I feel like that would be very loud?
They're loud people. It would be so entertaining.
It would be entertaining as heck. Like, that'd be awesome.
Actually, I think that this whole cast is pretty loud, so I can't deny.
You get loud too.
Yeah, their mouth is louder than a balloon, as Rachel would say.
Woo. So that's all I've got for coming up. Any other thoughts about this episode and whatnot?
I'm sad that we have to wait a few weeks for another episode. Oh my god.
Oh,
yeah.
It's gonna be good though.
But we'll be back for you guys. We're not going anywhere.
Grow fonder, whatever it is. We'll be back the next Tuesday after the next episode. January 3rd is the next episode, and that Tuesday is a 5th.
It is the 5th. It is 10 days before my birthday, so everyone plan accordingly. If you enjoyed this in any way, shape, or form, of course, if you're not already following the Live Reality Games Facebook page, guys, what are you doing? Check us out on YouTube, and also just our page in general. It has a lot of great orgs, and there's also some casting opportunities there as well. My Twitter is always haphazardly posted in my username, but our Twitters will always be, if you find one of us, you'll find all three of us.
Yes.
So thank you for checking us out. We appreciate. Oh, there we go. Yes, sir. We appreciate anyone who made it this far, everyone who is in the chats giving us great comments and great commentary. We appreciate all of y'all, any of our little Sequester bots that came to hang out with us as well. We always appreciate Jay West and everyone who comes out from the gang.
Yeah,
So,
let's go.
oh, what guy would call Jay West out, period?
No, never.
But thanks for checking us out, y'all. Like we said, we'll be back in 2 weeks, and we will see y'all then.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Dun, dun.